missed you so much.
Oh, my dear boy, look at you. Welcome home.
I've missed you.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, after being away for so long, Tuan finally decides to go back and visit his grandmother. But the moment he steps into the yard and sees her sitting there alone, her hair much grayer than before, Tuan can't hold back his tears. The two of them embrace tightly after such a long time apart. Holding Toan's hand, his grandmother asks a question that leaves him speechless. "Why haven't you come back to visit me for so long?" Tuan had only planned to stop by for a quick visit and then leave. But faced with his grandmother's love and warmth, it seems like he can't keep it inside anymore. Will Toan finally tell her the truth about what has happened in the family, especially the things involving his mother? Watch until the end of the video to fully experience this emotional moment. And if you enjoy the story of Toan, lytudiem, and their little family, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you won't miss the upcoming episodes. A quiet afternoon settles over Tuan and lytudiem's small home. Gentle sunlight shines through the porch roof, spilling softly onto the yard in front of the house. Inside the room, the baby is sleeping peacefully in the cradle, breathing softly and evenly, occasionally moving a little before drifting back into deep sleep. Out on the porch near the small kitchen, Tuan and lytudiem sit side by side. On the stove, a pot of water simmers quietly, steam rising and adding to the warm, peaceful atmosphere. Tuan sits silently for quite a while. His eyes stare down the village road ahead, as if he's lost in deep thought. Lytudiem is picking vegetables for dinner, but she still notices the thoughtful look on his face. After a moment, Tuan lets out a quiet sigh and begins to share that it has been a very long time since he last visited his grandmother. Ever since life became complicated, then lytudiem's pregnancy and the baby's birth, he has barely had a chance to go back and see her. When he mentions his grandmother, Tuan's voice slows down. He remembers his childhood days when she was always the one taking care of him and worrying about him. The simple meals, the times she sat in the yard, waiting for him to come home after playing. All those memories suddenly come back clearly in his mind. Lytudiem listens very carefully. She sets the basket of vegetables down and turns to look at Tuan with gentle eyes. She understands that he misses his grandmother deeply. Softly, lytudiem tells him that he should go visit her. His grandmother is probably hoping to see him too. Time passes quickly, and sometimes just a short visit can make an elderly person happy for the entire day. She smiles reassuringly and tells Tuan not to worry about the baby. She will stay home and take care of everything. To her, the most important thing is that Tuan doesn't have to keep that longing in his heart anymore. Lytudiem's sincere words warm Tuan's heart. He glances toward the room where the baby is sleeping, then turns to look at her. In that moment, he realizes how lucky he is to have a family that always understands and supports him. The gentle afternoon breeze drifts through the porch, carrying the peaceful feeling of their small home, and in Tuan's heart, a decision slowly becomes clear. It's time for him to go back and see his grandmother. After being away for so long, the familiar village road leads Tuan back to his grandmother's old house. Evening is beginning to fall, and the soft golden sunlight rests gently on the small house nestled beside a row of trees. Tuan stands in front of the gate for a long moment. Memories from his childhood suddenly rush back into his mind. He takes a deep breath and slowly steps into the yard. In the yard, his grandmother is sitting on an old wooden chair, her trembling hands carefully picking through vegetables. Her figure has grown much thinner than before, and her hair is now completely white, making Toan's heart ache when he sees her. Hearing footsteps, she slowly lifts her head. The moment she sees Toan standing there, she freezes for a few seconds. Her aging eyes widen in surprise. "Grandma." Just that one quiet word makes Toan's throat tighten. His grandmother slowly stands up, her legs slightly unsteady as she walks toward him. And the moment she reaches him, the two of them embrace. It's not a tight hug, but it's filled with love after such a long time apart. His grandmother holds Toan's hand tightly. Her old hands tremble gently. She looks at him for a long time, as if making sure that her grandson is really standing there in front of her. Softly, she asks him with both concern and a little bit of gentle scolding why it has been so long since he came to visit her. Hearing that question, Tuan's eyes suddenly sting. He lowers his head, not daring to look directly into her eyes. His heart is filled with guilt. He knows it has been a very long time since he last saw his grandmother, all because of the things that have happened in the family, especially the situation involving his mother. At first, Tuan had only planned to stop by to check on her, see if she was doing well, and then quietly leave. He didn't want to bring up painful matters that might make her worry. But standing in front of her now, seeing the lines on her face that have grown deeper with time, all the emotions inside him suddenly rise to the surface. Tears fall from Toan's eyes before he even realizes it. His grandmother gently pats his shoulder, her voice still as warm and gentle as when he was a child. She tells him to calm down and slowly tell her everything that has happened. Tuan takes a deep breath. Inside, he struggles between staying silent and telling the truth. He had only planned to visit her like it was a normal visit. But in the end, looking into his grandmother's loving eyes, Tuan realizes that he can't hide the truth from her anymore. Tuan stood there quietly for a moment, still holding his grandmother's fragile hand. The evening light had grown softer, and the shadows in the yard stretched longer across the ground. A gentle breeze passed through the trees, but the air between them felt heavy. He slowly wiped the tears from his face and looked down at the ground. "Grandma, there's something I need to tell you," he said quietly. His voice trembled slightly. His grandmother watched him carefully. Even though she had not heard the story yet, she could already feel that what he was about to say would not be easy. She pulled another small wooden chair closer and told him to sit down beside her. Tuan sat down slowly. For a moment, he struggled to find the right words. His fingers tightened together, and he took a deep breath. "Grandma, the reason I haven't come back for so long, and the reason Mom hasn't come to see you either." He paused. His grandmother's eyes immediately filled with worry. "What happened to your mother?" she asked softly. Tuan closed his eyes for a second before continuing. "A lot of things happened in the family. Things I didn't know how to explain to you before." The old woman's hands trembled slightly on her lap. Tuan slowly began to tell the story from the beginning. He explained how, over the past few years, his mother had slowly changed. At first, it was small things. She became more distant, more secretive. She often left the house without explaining where she was going. At first, Tuan thought it was just stress from work and family problems. But then the arguments began. His mother and father started fighting more often. Sometimes it was over money, sometimes over things that didn't seem to make sense. The house that used to feel peaceful slowly became full of tension. Tuan remembered many nights when the shouting echoed through the house. His grandmother listened quietly. her face slowly growing pale. "Tuan, why didn't you tell me earlier?" she asked weakly. He lowered his head. "I didn't want you to worry." The old woman sighed softly, but said nothing more. Tuan continued. Eventually, he discovered something that shocked him deeply. His mother had secretly borrowed a large amount of money from several people. At first, she told everyone it was for business investments. But the truth was much more complicated. She had trusted the wrong people. A group of acquaintances convinced her to invest in what they promised would be a profitable business opportunity. They told her she could earn money quickly and help the family live better. But it turned out to be a trap. The money disappeared and the people involved vanished. Suddenly, his mother was left with a huge debt. When the truth came out, everything fell apart. Creditors began coming to the house asking for repayment. Some were angry. Some threatened them. Toan said those were the hardest days their family had ever experienced. His grandmother covered her mouth with her hand, her eyes wide with disbelief. She never told me any of this," she whispered. Tuan nodded slowly. "Mom didn't want you to know. She was afraid you would worry too much." The old woman shook her head gently, tears forming in her eyes. "And then, what happened to her?" she asked. Tuan looked away toward the fading sunlight at the edge of the yard. "One day, she left." His grandmother froze. "What do you mean?" "She left." Tuan swallowed hard. After the debts grew too large and the pressure became unbearable, his mother felt overwhelmed. She blamed herself for everything that had happened. She believed she had ruined the family. One morning before anyone woke up, she quietly packed a small bag and left the house. At first, Toan thought she had only gone somewhere temporarily, but hours passed, then a full day, and she never came back. The only thing she left behind was a short letter. Tuan slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper that had grown worn from being carried around for so long. "I brought it with me," he said softly. His grandmother's hands trembled as she accepted the letter. She slowly unfolded it. The handwriting was familiar. Her daughter-in-law's gentle handwriting filled the page. The message was simple but heartbreaking. She wrote that she was sorry for everything she had caused the family. She felt she had no right to stay and continue bringing trouble to the people she loved. She asked Toan to take care of himself and to take care of his grandmother. She also wrote one last line that made the old woman's tears fall. "Please tell Grandma I'm sorry I couldn't come see her again." By the time his grandmother finished reading, her hands were shaking badly. The letter slipped slightly in her grip. She left because of this?" she asked, her voice breaking. Tuan nodded slowly. "We tried to find her," he said, "but we couldn't." For a long moment, the yard was completely silent. The only sound was the wind moving through the trees. His grandmother stared ahead, her expression full of shock. For many months, she had wondered why her daughter-in-law never visited anymore. She had thought maybe they were simply busy. She never imagined something like this had happened. Tears slowly rolled down her wrinkled cheeks. "That poor child," she whispered. Tuan looked surprised. He had expected anger, but instead his grandmother looked heartbroken. "She must have been suffering so much," the old woman said quietly. "She was," Toan replied. The grandmother held the letter close to her chest. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" she asked again. Tuan spoke honestly. "I was afraid the truth would hurt you." The old woman slowly reached out and held his hand again. "My child," she said gently. "Families share both happiness and hardship. Even if the truth is painful, we face it together." Toan felt his chest tighten with emotion. For a long time, he had carried this secret alone. Now that the truth was finally spoken, it felt as though a heavy weight had slowly lifted from his heart. His grandmother took a deep breath and wiped her tears. "Have you heard anything about her since then?" she asked. Tuan shook his head. "No, nothing." Another long silence passed. The sky above them had grown darker as evening settled over the village. His grandmother looked toward the gate for a moment, as if hoping someone might suddenly appear. But the yard remained quiet. Finally, she spoke again. "No matter where she is still family." Tuan nodded. "We're still hoping she will come back someday." The old woman gently squeezed his hand. "She will," she said softly. Her voice carried a quiet hope, because no matter how far someone goes, home is still home. Tuan looked at his grandmother, feeling both sadness and warmth in his heart. For the first time in a long while, he felt that the truth had not destroyed anything. Instead, it had brought them closer. And somewhere in the quiet evening air, both of them silently hoped that one day, the missing member of their family would find her way back home. Toan felt his chest tighten with emotion. For a long time, he had carried this secret alone. Now that the truth was finally spoken, it felt as though a heavy weight had slowly lifted from his heart. His grandmother took a deep breath and wiped her tears. "Have you heard anything about her since then?" she asked. Tuan shook his head. "No, nothing." Another long silence passed. The sky above them had grown darker as evening settled over the village. His grandmother looked toward the gate for a moment, as if hoping someone might suddenly appear. But the yard remained quiet. Finally, she spoke again. "No matter where she is still family." Tuan nodded. "We're still hoping she will come back someday." The old woman gently squeezed his hand. "She will," she said softly. Her voice carried a quiet hope, because no matter how far someone goes, home is still home. Tuan looked at his grandmother, feeling both sadness and warmth in his heart. For the first time in a long while, he felt that the truth had not destroyed anything. Instead, it had brought them closer. And somewhere in the quiet evening air, both of them silently hoped that one day, the missing member of their family would find her way back home.